E aí, camarada, suave? Boa noite. Temos mais um vídeo aqui do canal de Genshin parte. E vamos ver as consequências que o Scaramouche ter apagado as versões dele como Scaramouche e como Fiona causaram no Zuma. Agora já tá com a menina toda. O senhor aqui também. Acho que é Radinei, mas não sei.
Ah, it's been a while.
Com licença, eu gostaria de fazer uma pergunta.
Of course. Go ahead.
Sobre o Raiden Kugaden, o Kaido. Você poderia me contar essa história mais uma vez?
Oh. Now there's a question I wasn't expecting. Very well. I'll tell you what I know once more. The once renowned Raiden Gokuden, comprised of 5 branches. Aminoma, Futsu, Ishin, Hyakume, and Senju. The art of forging practiced by these 5 clans was first taught to them personally by the almighty Shogun. Over time, the 5 branches diverged from one another as generations of bladesmiths honed and perfected their craft until they became 5 distinct traditions. Most of the great swordsmith clans of old have since fallen into decline, and for a long time, only the Amenoma branch kept its art alive. But fortunately, Kaedehara Kazuha recently returned to Inazuma and took up the mantle of the Ishin art. Now, 2 clans remain of the original Gokuden 5. If my memory serves me right, you yourself were present when he forged the Ishin blade.
Oh yeah, we were! Paimon remembers that now. We learned a bit
Certo.
about the decline of the Raiden Gokuden then too. It seems like such a shame.
Qual foi o motivo por trás desse filme?
That, my friends, is a tragic tale indeed. In fact, this was not made known to me for most of my life. All these years, I knew of those great clans' demise, but never the cause. Only recently, when the question was on my mind, did I ask Kaedehara Kazuha about this. He told me that, as we are both heirs to a branch of the Raiden Gokunen, it was right that I should know the truth. There is no harm in telling you, but I must warn you. It is a dark and sorrowful tale. The Raiden Gokuden were the targets of a murderous rampage by a vengeful bladesmith.
Vengeful? Why?
400 years ago, so I'm told, there was a catastrophic malfunction in Tatarasuna's furnace. One brave swordsmith heard the commotion and chose not to flee, but he rushed to the scene, hoping to prevent a disaster. Tatarasuna was home to a state-of-the-art forging and smelting operation in that day, and overseeing it was the armory officer. His surname was Niwa, though he had family ties to the Kaedehara clan. Knowing that they had just one chance to save countless lives, Mr. Niwa and the swordsmith leaped together into the furnace. The furnace quickly stabilized, but neither of them made it out. The smith's death, though heroic, dealt a devastating blow to his family's fortunes. His orphan son was left to fend for himself, and grew up deeply resentful at the world. In his heart, the whole of Inazuma was culpable in his tragedy. He hated the almighty Shogun for her apparent indifference towards his father's death, and he hated everyone who had done nothing to try and save him. Powerless and destitute, the only legacy he had to pass on to his children was his hatred. Generation after generation bore this grudge. Alas, if only the story could have ended there. But 100 years ago, the then head of this family reached the end of his wits. He could bear their fate no longer, and yet, finally, he made a drastic decision to take revenge on the Raiden Gokuden. In doing so, he sought to vent his pet anger, and in his fury, he murdered indiscriminately, killing even bladesmiths from the Hyakume clan which he belonged to. His goal was absolute, the devastation of all of the Raiden Gokuden. But when he came to the Kaedehara and Kamisato clans, his killing spree came to an abrupt end. He failed to catch them unawares. They fought back fiercely, and they did not spare his life. That is why the Kaedehara clan and their Ishin art survived that day. I suppose they were the lucky ones, under the dire circumstances.
Lembra do Raiden mais alguém pra ter escrever. Parece que a gente fez algo no estilo, mas parece que não é.
Was there anything else you wanted to ask?
Você viu o Kazuha recentemente?
Kazuha? Why, yes. Just yesterday, in fact. We spoke for a while over some tea.
Então ele desiste. E ele é o mesmo Kazuha que no começo. As coisas não parecem tão ruins quando eu pensava anteriormente. Isso é tudo. Obrigado.
My pleasure.
Don't tell Paimon. There are other places you want to visit too, right? Your expression says it all. You can't hide anything from Paimon. On to the next stop. Lead the way, traveler. Paimon will be right behind you.
Mas vamos lá, cara. Sigam. Bem, chegamos.
This is the Yashiro Commission's headquarters.
Traveler, it's been a while.
Tatsu,
If
olá.
you're looking for the Commissioner and Miss Kamisato, I'm afraid your timing is unfortunate.
Are they out on business?
The Commissioner is out on business, and Miss Kamisato is standing in for some meetings in the Commissioner's place. If it's urgent, you're welcome to wait inside until they get back.
What do you think? Shall we go in?
Obrigado. Vamos aceitar essa oferta. Vamos ver o que no parque.
If it were anyone else, I couldn't allow it. But seeing as you're so close with the Commissioner and Miss Kamisato, I think it should be okay.
We'll be heading in then. Thanks.
Valeu.
Hello, dears. Is there something you want to say?
Senhora, posso fazer umas perguntas?
Of course, traveler. Yes, I know who you are. Miss Kamisato has told me about you. What would you like to know?
Como estão os missionários e a senhorita Kamisato esses dias?
Oh, they're both very well indeed. Lately, Miss Kamisato has been rather busy attending all kinds of meetings and occasionally paying visits to some local organizations on the Commissioner's behalf. As for the Commissioner himself, well, you know, busy as ever. That much hasn't changed. Although he does seem to be in a rather good mood these days.
So pretty much business as usual on the Yashiro Commission, huh?
Very much so.
Aí atende o comissário, Yashiro, aí atende a senhorita no caso. Sem mudanças aqui. Tudo que eu vejo já é muito boa na comissão Yashiro também. Eu estou esperando isso, mas ainda é um grande alívio saber que as irmãs confessam segurança.
Well, got any more questions?
Esse por hora. Muito obrigado.
You're very welcome. In fact, I would love nothing more than for you to come and visit more often. But I'm sure you must be far too busy to have time for that. Miss Kamisato talks about you all the time. She seems so thrilled to have you as a friend, and she's always saying how talented you are and how much she admires you. I must say, many things in Inazuma seem to have taken a turn for the better since you arrived here. So you're not just Miss Kamisato's knight in shining armor, you know. You're a hero to us all.
Fico lisonjeado.
I mean it. Whenever the commissioner dines at home, Toma always joins him. I always find myself at my most relaxed when I'm serving the two of them and listening to them chat away. The commissioner has such a busy schedule that he doesn't always have the chance to take his meals at home, but given the opportunity, he always prefers to dine here. They say it's because Toma's a much better chef than most. Oh, the commissioner is so fond of home comforts. They get to talking about you sometimes too, you know. Always with a very fond tone. The way one would talk about dear old friends around whom one can truly be themselves. Miss Kamisato occasionally joins them as well. Whenever the whole family gets together and they start talking about people they've met and experiences they've had, you always get a mention. It's been many years now since the late Mr. and Mrs. Kamisato passed away. Much has happened in the Kamisato clan in that time. As someone who is old and gray enough to have watched their son and daughter grow up, it makes me so happy to see them meet a dependable friend whose company they enjoy so much.
Mais uma vez, eu fico lisonjeado.
So, in the future, if you ever do have the time, please know you are always very welcome at the Yashiro Commission headquarters. There will always be at least one old lady who would be delighted to have the pleasure of your company.
Muito obrigado, eu estarei novamente. As pessoas do clã Kamisato são amigos queridos.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Paimon likes it here too! Also, you were saying something about the food here being really great. Paimon's itching to try it. We may just have to invite ourselves around for dinner sometime. Paimon meant we should come pay a visit again real soon. Ideally around dinner time.
Of course. You're always welcome.
Alright, goodbye for now. Where are we going next?
Paparazzi.
Great! Goodbye, ma'am! Don't worry, we'll see ourselves out.
All right, then. Take care now. Hope to see you soon.
Oh, are you two leaving already?
Já.
Yep, everything's taken care of now. Don't worry.
Very well. Safe travels. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Paparazzi. Bem, agora chegamos no finalmente, né, cara? Vamos ver o que aconteceu no... Vamos ver o que aconteceu no paparazzi, né?
Well, here we are. But what are we looking for? Something? Or someone?
Do my eyes deceive me, or is that the traveler and Paimon?
Nós
Xavier?
mesmos.
What are you doing here?
I was in the general area, and now I'm in this specific area. There, that's me. So what about you two?
We have some questions and thought you might be able to help.
Eu sei bastante sobre o paparazzi.
Certainly do. I've researched the furnace here in some depth.
Let's see.
If there's
Beleza.
anything you want to know, just ask away.
O quão bem você entende a história desse mundo?
Like the back of my hand. Make no mistake, I have been here a good many times before. Not only that, but I've met people in Inazuma whose families used to live in Tatarasuna years ago. They said it's all true, the history here.
Continue. Estou ouvindo.
Oh, well, it's a long story, don't you know? The tale of Tatarasuna starts a long time ago. I'm told that its history is one of the most foremost forging and smelting operations in the nation, goes back around 1,000 years. Still, the furnace has had a couple of serious maintenance issues along the way.
A couple? When exactly?
One was just in the last few years, the other was several hundred years ago. A fun fact, I'm not the first Fontaine tech guy to come and work on it either. There was a guy back then too. They say he was a mechanic who consulted on a technology upgrade. It seems like the technological collaboration between our two nations goes back a long way. How about that?
Mecânica, né? Parece que depois sobre o Top9 criou todo o consequência.
Hey, weren't you gonna ask Xavier something about Tatarasuna? Come on, ask already.
Já perguntei.
Oh, I didn't realize you two were here for a history lesson.
Me neither. Paimon doesn't know what's gotten into this one today. Feels like we've been preparing for a history exam or something.
What brought this on? Did you just wake up today with a sudden burning desire for historical knowledge?
Basicamente. Então, posso fazer alguma pergunta?
Sure, go ahead.
Eu ia falar de kabuki mono conectado à telinha.
A kabuki mono? No, I can't say that I have. I do know the word, Inazuman for those eccentric types who always go around dressed to the nines. Just the sort of person that I'd like to meet, actually. But sadly, I've never had the pleasure, nor have I come across anything to do with a kabuki mono where Tatarasuna is concerned.
Então, mas kabuki mono. Realmente difícil de separar totalmente desse tal. Se sim, daquele jato do mundo refletir a colher antes, mas até agora parece que a maioria das mudanças tem adaptação. Obrigado,
Of course! Don't mention it.
Oh, we're leaving? Okay, bye, Xavier.
Xavier, qual que eu...
Oh, you're most welcome. More than happy to help.
De nada, fico mais...
Farewell.
Adeus.
Looks like you got all the
Xavier,
information you're looking for.
Parece que você conseguiu todas as informações. Pode voltar e não te com essa nada.
Sure, but what's up with you today? Whatever it is, it seems like it's really troubling you. Keep your smile, Spinal Crocodile. No matter what happens, Paimon will always be there for you.
Certo. Obrigado, pai.
Hey, don't mention it. Alright, let's head off and go meet Nahida.
É custo da história. Isso tá todo baixo, tá? Tá quebrado. Chegamos e cadê a Kusanali?
Hey, it's them!
Akaba, Sawada, you're still here?
Desenho está falando do Sally.
Indeed we are! If you have a moment, we'd love for you to join us once more.
We have time. What do you want to talk to us about?
It's the same topic we discussed last time. Obviously.
Still looking for more info about Tatarasuna, huh? Should we join them?
Perfeito, isso vocês fizeram sobre passar do Tarzan. Vamos ver o que estamos.
Unfortunately, we haven't made any real progress.
O tipo você me deixou ler da última vez, estava ótimo. Posso ler novamente?
Oh, of course.
Aviso, Santuário, chata, texto uma forma estranha, televisão, seguinte escrito, talvez, mencionado. Virar marcha, escutou comprando de norte, aço, uma transmissão. Produção cabelo da grande produção, estilo curioso. Cortou a carne, isso aqui, uns componentes, tirou, isso melhor pra noite. persevera. Então eu quero essa antes de sair para três partes, o visitor, o processo, deixa a atenção. Vai jogar, famosinho, celular, não dos monges, interpretar, são contos de histórias que são pela parte nacional estrangeira. Versão versão, que eu preciso bem que isso é real, estrangeiros que estão presentes, dizem que ele veio para fazer um intercâmbio. Aquela parte que mudou, tinha mecânica, apesar da extensão de chance do ator, assim. Mudou, não tinha essa parte.
I presume you'll want to read mine as well. Here.
Brevemente, 3 horas. Deixa eu ver a parte que mudou assim. Mouse. Mas é que a gente cobriu o vídeo, depois eu vi. Eu fui dizer algumas palavras, mas resolvi falar sobre os personagens. Aqui não vai ser a parte de licença de jogos. No caso de codificação, que eu chamar as pessoas para assinar essa inteligência. Pode falar, por exemplo, não deixa de ter um senhor, deixa eu. Vou confirmar se está computado, na verdade, não sei se tem ligado. Estrangeiro aí, certo? É o Toric. As coisas aqui foram jornalistas, não são direção. Nós temos que colocar que seu serviço e caminhão também que estão se histórico. A questão vital, tem que usar depois de estar com o braço do mecânico. Caio se faz mecânico, então são assim. Mecânico, você não achou, você vai para coisa normal. Colocar na boca, depois vem o segundo, o terceiro, o quarto, continuar, se você controle. A gente vai deixar bem claro esse disco, mas o disco parece ficou acabou que manter estrangeiro. O conteúdo mudou, outro respeito da alteração de informações na mistura. Os caras disse que alocaria todos os seus nomes, sempre foi de sucesso mesmo. O poder dele deve ter sido de sucesso.
Well, what do you think?
Uma obra-prima.
Hey, Traveler. Remember how last time Akaba was saying how he wished he could gather more information about all this? Well, we just got back from Inazuma. So how about we tell them what we learned?
Sem problema.
What did you find out? Something big?
It's a long
cover
story.
tudo que sabe.
Basically, we have some friends in Inazuma, and...
Mas sabe, você conhece os escritores, sua história, né?
Wow, so many.
Well, well. So it all comes down to one man's desire for revenge. Huh. You heard this from a member of the Amanoma clan, you say? Then I guess it must be true. Ugh. So there's no ghost story here after all.
This
Pois
new
é.
information actually lends further credence to my hypothesis. Evidently, swordsmiths were seen as having an incredibly prestigious role in society those days, to the extent that harming them was conceived of, at least by the perpetrator, as a way of exacting revenge against those in power.
Yes, yes, okay, point taken, you were right. But that doesn't mean I can't carry on with my novel.
And they're back at it. These guys are really into this.
Eu seria de algumas coisas.
Oh,
Tá?
so sorry. Look at us, prattling on about our projects and ignoring you. Thank you so much for the information.
Sem problemas.
You're welcome. See ya.
Se
Keep
há.
us in the loop if you find out anything else.
Will do.
Beleza. Faremos isso. Então agora, barriga. Cadê a nossa pequenucha favorita?
Nahida, we're here.
E aí, Nahida, como estão as coisas?
How have you been? Ugh, where to start? Paimon hasn't had a moment's rest this whole time. That night, we ended up chatting until suddenly the sun was up. And then he decided he wanted to go to Inazuma.
Essas as chances são com os caramutes, já. Os cara... O quê?
The Balladeer? It sounds like some kind of
Sabia.
code name.
Afinal, ele se apagou, né? Ah, não. Pô, viajante, era óbvio, né? Se ele apagou os nomes, a existência dos caramutes de cada kimono, então ela na Rinda também não vai lembrar. Ela não se lembrou da cadê volta quando ela foi apagada, porque ela se lembrou já deu os
You
caramutes.
look troubled. Is there something you need to tell me?
Até ainda não lembro, assim como a última vez. Qualquer mudança nisso, acho que também. É porque ela é uma. Principalmente ela, porque ela é a manifestação física da Yusu. Ela é diretamente conectada nisso. Então, se uma informação é apagada da Yusu, ela é uma das principais pessoas que seria apagada também. Então, um dia de obviamente, ele terminou de se apagar antes que a Maria pudesse parar. Só eu ainda lembro das coisas que foram apagadas. Mais uma vez, não tem registro.
Traveler?
Às vezes, é porque ele todo mundo antes a Yusu não consegue apagar dele, né? Porque faz parte
Hey,
dele.
what's wrong? You look
As
so
coisas que
upset.
aconteceram que só eu lembro. Eu tenho que te contar a verdade. Tem que pesquisar, né? Vai fazer tempo. Você queria contar da atualizada também? Havia uma missão canônica que era apresentada direto. Já não é de pessoas. Próxima série de eventos, nos Estados Unidos, os caras multiplicando. Eu esperei 3 vezes que tinha mais um para fazer isso melhor. Sem contar os humanos, e apenas milhões deles levou um corpo por anos enquanto especializia, tendo tornado mais um para super sobrevivência. Ele tentou em vão, se tornou uma divindade. Seu cabelo branco. Finalmente, ele tornou pessoa e descobriu a verdade sobre sua coleção. Sabendo agora que sua vida foi feita de mentiras, ele fez um pensável no que poderia acontecer destino tarde.
That's quite a story. So, this puppet known as the Balladeer erased himself from Irminsul, hoping that he could change the past.
Pois é.
But how was he even able to do that? As the traveler said, he very nearly became Sumeru's deity. Admittedly, I remember it a little differently. I don't recall finding anyone inside the machine after we defeated it. Nevertheless, it does make sense. If someone were to successfully erase themselves from Irminsul, the world would change to reflect the new reality.
A memória das pessoas é meio que alterada.
So, you believe this person
Pra
really
fazer uma historinha
existed?
que se
And
encaixa.
we just don't remember him because, well, because he literally changed the world? Yes. Theoretically speaking, it is possible to do this. But the Traveler comes from a world beyond to that. That's why there's no information about him in Irminsul, and it also explains why any changes to Irminsul wouldn't affect
Isso
him.
mesmo. Eu tinha pensado.
So if there's anyone in the world capable of retaining memories from a past that has been rewritten, it's you. It's quite incredible when you think about it.
Eu tinha postar.
Paimon's having a hard time understanding this balladeer guy's motivations. Why did he do it?
I can only make inferences based on the information we've been given. As for what kind of person he was, only you remember that.
Eu não tenho certeza. São uns inimigos, afinal de contas. Não sei a perspectiva dele sobre tudo isso, então eu não posso dizer que ele ter feito algo tão estranho. Ele queria redefinir tudo ou só alguém? Ou ele queria desfazer a própria distância completamente? Tudo pode ser acertado. É hora de resolver isso de uma vez por todas. Talvez isso seja muito estranho. Não querendo a pergunta que ele fez, não pergunta explicitamente a restrição veio à hora de sua resposta. Eu estou porque existem maneiras de uma poder apagar a própria existência, mas eu não posso dizer isso não. Por colocar as palavras, eu sei porque você não tinha tanta certeza que ele precisava, mas eu não posso contar isso ainda.
Something else worrying you? Something that you can't share?
Eu escolhi uma opção tão radical mesmo assim.
It couldn't change the fate of the ones who had died, right?
Sim.
Once the balladeer realized he hadn't been betrayed after all, it must have completely changed his view of the people of Tatarasuna. Now he saw them as friends again. He couldn't keep hating humans after that. And if he thought there was a chance he could save his old friends, it would be hard not to try. The story makes sense, every part of it. The balladeer tried to achieve godhood with the doctor's help. He was unsuccessful, but retained the power to connect with Irminsul. That power then enabled him to change what was recorded in Irminsul and erase himself, even though he didn't have much strength left.
Yeah, it does make sense, but it still ended in tragedy for his friends. It just feels so hopeless. He gave everything to do this, but it seems like he got nothing in return.
Sim, ele mudou o mundo de várias maneiras. E ainda assim os mortos não tiveram uma segunda chance. Aqueles destinados a um fim trágico não podiam ser salvos. O que exatamente ele queria lutar contra? As traições de sua vida? Ele desejava nunca ter assistido isso.
Please wait a moment. I want to check something. Found it. This should be the one.
Oh?
It turns out that I have a strange way of confirming everything he has told us.
What is it?
A record from a personal collection. It was tucked away in a corner. You should take a look.
Is this a fairy tale? Who wrote it?
As coisas pode tudo que ele disse.
I authored this record myself.
Huh? You wrote a fairy tale that somehow has something to do with the balladeer?
When combined with the traveler's narrative, it's clear that this story is an allegory.
Hold on. So this record survived from the past?
Yes. Any information about the balladeer or the Kabukimono and other records will have been changed. But I wrote this story in a way that means it was left intact. Changing the information in Irminsul changes to that. But Irminsul can't change information that was well hidden in advance. I guess I must have written this story as a backup before the balladeer entered Irminsul.
Sabe de verdade, hein?
That's incredible! What a great idea!
And sending the traveler into Irminsul with the balladeer must have been a further precaution. I knew he'd remember everything.
Sabia?
This story is abstract enough that it still resonates with the present information recorded in Irminsul. But if we connect all the different pieces together, the true story that emerges is the one he told us. The now erased life of the balladeer. There was once a lone monster draped in fox fur. The monster found a family of foxes, joined them, and they became friends. The monster lived with the family day and night, and everyone treated it as one of their own.
Monstro para de piada impede.
Once in a while, the monster would take off its fox fur at night and lament to itself as it gazed at its reflection in the water. I am a monstrosity, yet they are too foolish to see it. I pity them. But the monster soon found solace when another came to live among the foxes who was not their kin. A kitten, carved from the wood of a white tree who had been abandoned by the humans. The kitten too wished to become a fox, but its tail was too slender and it could not grow a coat of richly colored fur. Yet when the other foxes saw this, they spoke words of comfort to the kitten. Even without a tail and fur like ours, you are still one of us. Furious at this happy resolution, the monster lit a fire on the mountain. The terrified animals panicked as the fire spread. The only way to extinguish the flames was to make a sacrifice.
Por isso que os infelizes mostram até o fogo na montanha.
A gray fox stood up and addressed the monster. It said, "You are the cleverest among us. Surely you can help us find a way to solve this." The monster smiled, led the fox toward the fire, and murdered it. The gray fox's heart was turned into a beautiful drop of water, clear, spotless, and pure. The monster gave the heart of water to the kitten, telling him, "The foxes have decided. You are the one who must be sacrificed. Take this, quench the flames, and die for your fox kin."
Ah, o monstro do Turi, essa aqui.
The fire was extinguished, but the kitten lived. It left that side of the mountain and found a little bird who had a broken wing.
Huh.
The two promised they would spend their whole lives together, but the little bird did not have long left to live. It passed away soon after. After burying the bird,
Ah,
the kitten
aquele
left the mountain
garotinho
for
lá,
good.
cara. Aquele garotinho lá, pelo que mostrou da história, ele tava aparentemente doente, algo assim. Em tempo de vida, aí ficaram juntos. Aí ele fez um acordo lá. Isso foi quebrado porque ele morreu, né? Ele tinha tudo, né? Ele tinha tudo tempo de vida. Só que os caras mexiam com uma traição. Pouco que você morreu.
Never again would it cherish a single creature, nor a single blade of grass that stood on that mountain. The kitten spent the nights wandering aimlessly, gnashing its teeth at the moon. How it wished to swallow the moon and devour the moonlight. If the world could only return to darkness, then it would finally be peaceful and content. I will become the new moon, the answer to everything. Then, no one will know that there were once birds, foxes, and cats in this world. And no one can know that they were different.
Legalzinho.
We solved it!
Solved it.
I remember now. This is not just the Balladeer story. It is his very own memories. To become a god, he was experimented on and modified countless times. It was brutal torture, and the only reason this memory was extracted from him by the scholars. Presumably, they kept it to have something to defend themselves with. Creating a deity was just the first step. Some of them wanted to be able to control it. That's why they backed up his memory for later use. I buried it deep inside one of my own dreams, and then hid it inside an allegorical story so that it wouldn't be altered.
It's hard to believe that this person really existed, let alone that he tried to get rid of us on more than one occasion. Paimon has no memory of him at all. He completely vanished like a puff of smoke.
The balladeer agreed to help me look for information about the Descenders, and although he was unsuccessful, he still helped you. Before he vanished, he confirmed an important detail. That Conria was where your twin first came into this world. We still don't know how the change to Irminsul will affect the senior ranks of the Fatui, but in all likelihood, they won't even remember their own Harbinger.
Eu nunca tive essa sensação antes. É como se a vida fosse insignificante com uma pena.
It sounds like Paimon wouldn't like this guy a whole lot if he was still around. But still, Paimon doesn't like the way it all ended that much better.
This is why wisdom alone cannot answer all our questions. We look, we see, and we comprehend, but the question still troubles us. So the answer is not everything. People yearn to find the truth and then conquer the troubles they face. When you give someone the truth, you give them a chance to choose their own destiny. To others looking on, this may seem like a pointless endeavor, but for him, the chance to act on his desire to disappear must have meant a lot. Never forget that even when we walk beneath dark clouds along a road filled with suffering, the light of wisdom is always there, guiding us toward a better destination. And that is what you have been doing all along.
Yeah, Nahita's right. Cheer up! How about we go get something to eat? We can pick up this heavy conversation again later.
Good idea. Paimon, why don't you take him out for a walk to clear his head?
You got it! Come on, traveler! You need to get out of your head for a while. You'll feel much better after taking a walk.
Então, tá
Let's
beleza.
get a snack from one of the stalls in the Grand Bazaar. That'll be sure to lift our spirits. It must be really tough being the only one who remembers all that. But Paimon's always here to help cheer you up.
Bem, então é isso. Tá bom de vídeo já, uns 40 e poucos minutos. Pelo que eu ver aqui. Bem, a gente viu que como antes, os eventos eles tiveram os mesmos resultados, mas a causa foi diferente. A lote maior foi substituída pela lote menor. Né? Tipo, a lote menor sempre existiu, sempre foi ela, todas aquelas coisas. Só que em vez dela morrer, ela só perdeu os poderes dela, ela ficou fraca e os acadêmicos tiveram que prender ela. E foi isso, mas tipo, todas as coisas que a lote maior fez foi substituído ela pela Nahida, né? Mas aconteceu a mesma coisa, só quem fez historicamente mudou. É por isso que não claramente, né? Mas foi substituído por alguém inventado, alguém que existe também. Assim. E eles só substituem as memórias por outras coisas. Né? Mas, pelo que eu entendi, o resultado está sendo o mesmo. Então, eles apagam alguém aqui. E apagou a existência. Até agora seria apagando a existência de pessoas. Né? Apagou a existência da realidade. E dos Caramute. E essa falta deles acabou resultando em resultados iguais, compreendeu? Mas é isso aí. O vídeo já está por aqui. Espero que tenham gostado. Se deixe seu gostei. Se gosta dos meus vídeos, de mim, qualquer coisa que eu trago aqui no canal, considere se inscrever. Mas relaxe, que a gente se encontra na outra. Valeu e falou.
Would you like to hear a lullaby